This first topic is on the Browns, and I know you have an impact question you want to ask, so we can get some fans' input on this as well.
Yeah, so I know the article's been out for a couple weeks now. We've had this for a minute. ESPN ranked the Cleveland Browns overall roster as 9th among the 32 teams in the NFL, and it really got me to thinking. There's a bunch of teams that have a talented roster. You know, we all know what talented rosters is. It's a bunch of talented guys, you know, but not necessarily always attribute to being a good team. So the impact question today is, do the Cleveland Browns have a good team or just a talented roster?
Tyvis?
Well, I think that they have a good team. As far as, a good roster. I mean, if we look at the roster, we've been saying that for years, that on paper, it looks unbelievable. Every position group is addressed. There is really no weaknesses outside of maybe the linebackers position, but if they all play like I think they can play, they'll be fine in that aspect. But the team is different because, for example, you can look at the Kansas City Chiefs and say their roster is not that great. I mean, their defense, they got like one guy on defense that anybody really knows of. Outside of that, it's just a bunch of guys around there. Although, shout out to my boy Justin Reed. But they have a great team. Like they go to the playoffs, they win championships. It's a great team. With the Browns, they have a great roster. I don't know if it's necessarily a great team. That's something that we have to see. It's been times where, you know, they've looked good. Cincinnati last year, they looked like one of the best teams in football. But then you have other games like the Jets where you break down in the end and they look like one of the worst teams. So team-wise, I don't know where we are as a team. I think we'll find out. Obviously, we need everybody to do what we expect them to do. But on roster, yes, it is. It's definitely a top 5 roster in the NFL, in my personal opinion.
G?
See, this is the reason why people get fired. Because if you got a top 5 roster, I could have said that for the Cleveland Browns multiple years. I thought they had a great roster in 19. I thought 20 they had a really good roster. Last year they punted. Okay, cool. This year they got a really good roster.
Punted.
To me, probably the best roster that they've had in the history of the game. In the history of their team, this is probably the best roster they have. Because I can look back and say no quarterbacks, no name receivers, no deep, really crazy defensive impact guys. If you look back and go to the Hall of Fame, the Browns don't have defensive impact guys there. So for me, I look at it like this. This is where coaches talk about it all the time. In the offseason, they say, when are we going to come together as a team? And a team does things like be complimentary of one another. Teams do things like, okay, Deshaun Watson threw an interception. Defense, we need to go back and get that pick back, right? We need to go back and get that back. Team stuff is, offense, defense is on the field a lot. We playing Joe Burrow. Hey, we can't expect a lot of 3-and-outs. So we got to be able to keep the pace up to score touchdowns. We can't be kicking field goals. We're going to hold ourselves accountable over here. And so those are the things that the team stuff that we have to have. And the Browns have not shown throughout the season that they can play complementary football, and then people can actually sense the urgency or understand what the moment is. Understanding what the moment is, we've all seen teams like OU or smaller teams play well the whole damn game. And then all of a sudden you get to the fourth quarter and oops, you let the star receiver get a little quick touchdown real quick. Oh, there's the big play. Oh, you gave up a strip sack. And now you automatically see that momentum switching. And at that point in time, if you want to go upset somebody, you got to understand what type of time you're on right then and be like, guys, we want to win. We got to come down and get more points, or we got to get a turnover, or we got to make it happen. It ain't just happen for us. And the Browns, a lot of times, operate like that, especially when you see the Jets game. Guys, it's time for us to get the onside kick. You didn't get it. Guys, they threw an interception to us. DB drops it. Guys, all of that stuff.
You take it a step further. I mean, you just look at, is it a good team? Well, let's look at their schedule from last year. When they went up against good teams, they went up against Buffalo. It didn't look good. They went up against Miami. It didn't look good. They went up against the Patriots. They look terrible.
Terrible.
So it's like when they went up against teams that are actually good teams, they didn't show up at all. So that's what makes me wonder. No, I don't think they are necessarily a good team yet, but they can fix that.
I think today, as of July 7th, we know it's a good roster. Mm-hmm. It is impossible to argue with the amount of talent this team has collected, especially in the key positions. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, at least, the 3 most important positions in football for a successful team: quarterback, guys to protect your quarterback and guys to get after the quarterback. We think Deshaun Watson's going to return to at least 85, 90%, if not more, of his Houston form.
Yes.
Check at the quarterback position. They have arguably the best offensive line in football with two of the best guards and a tackle in Jed Willis, who we hope takes that fifth-year step in progression and turns into a guy who was drafted 10th overall. On the defensive line, between Myles Garrett, Zadarius Smith, Okoronkwo, Dalvin Tomlinson, Ika, the other defensive tackles they signed, the rookies, those three positions, I don't really have any question marks about, assuming Deshaun Watson returns to the player we all think he can be and the player the Browns are paying him to be.
Yeah.
At the secondary positions that are important, running back, Nick Chubb, elite. Defensive backs, one of, if not the best defensive back room in the AFC. And receivers. It's the fifth highest paid receiver room in football. Some question marks. I'm not saying it's a strength.
Yeah.
But they have talent in that room. The only spot on the roster you could look at, like you said, and be like, you know what? I'm not certain this group can be good as linebacker, but I'm trusting in Jim Schwartz and I'm trusting in the defensive tackles and their improved play to open up the field for those linebackers. But a good roster doesn't mean you're a good team. And you guys point out, that's where coaching comes into play.
Yeah.
And that's where guys like Stefanski, Schwartz, Ventrone make their bread. That's why they get paid. I went back and looked at some of the quote-unquote dream teams in the NFL the last 20 years. You remember that Philadelphia Eagles team that Vince Young called the Dream Team after they signed Namani Asama, Dominique Rodgers, Cromartie, Steve Smith, and Ronnie Brown?
That was a disaster.
Do you know what their record was that year?
They won
not good.
7 games, right?
They went 8-8 and missed the playoffs. Yeah. They had, on paper, one of the most talented rosters in football, but a talented roster does not equal wins. A winning football team, you don't have to have the best roster. I don't think anyone would say Kansas City had the best roster in football last year. They had the best quarterback, a dominant defensive tackle in Chris Jones, and guys to protect Mahomes. And if you're good in those three positions, you can win a lot of football games and be a good
And they
team.
also had the number one thing.
Is.
The number one thing that you didn't say what they have is great coaching. And that's the thing you was hitting on it. You was saying that you can have a great roster on paper, but the coach has to put it all together. Yeah. And I think now that they've went out and then got Jim Schwartz and Bubba Ventrone, I think that was the key thing that can make them take their next step to becoming a great team. See, now Kevin Stefanski can stay with the play sheet in front of him because he knows that Jim Schwartz is going to demand great out of his out of his defense. And he knows Bubba Ventrone is going to get these guys to play well on special teams. So now he really can lock in on calling the plays, and he don't have to hear all the chatter about trying to find the pulse of the team. He can stay in his element, which is calling plays. He still is. It was some questionable things that happened last year, but he still is a really good play caller. He just now can be more locked into that and know that the defense and the special teams will take care of themselves because of the guys that they appointed. So I think that is the step that they was missing last year that will make this team become a great team, I should say.
Man, you ever heard a judge tell the guys, speak now, forever hold your peace?
Yeah.
Well, look.
Put up or shut up.
That's all it is.
At the end of the day. At the end of the day.
And all I want to say is this. And all I want to say is if we get halfway through this season and inevitably somebody going to get hurt, inevitably, I don't think, and I try to explain this, I don't think regular fans understand that somebody's going to get hurt. Listen, pick one of your best players. Just pick one of them. Whether it's Garrett, Chubb, Deshaun Watson, Cooper, whoever it is. And just imagine they're going to be out 6 weeks. So my thought process is when you going into camp, you better have everything that you need to have to get you through the season. None of this, we would have been good only if we would have, I think, and we do this way too much. You writers do this way too damn much. Y'all always revisionist history or something. Well, if it wasn't for those injuries in the middle of the year, what year did anybody go through this? Every Super Bowl team has massive injuries. Every team got them. So stop saying that. What you need to do is say, is it raining outside? Not today. But if I'm going camping, it could be raining 3 days from now.
Well, that's what scares me because I think about what would be outside of Deshaun Watson, what would be the one thing that could kill this team? To me, it's two players that if they go down,
you got one.
It's two players
Wait,
on the offense.
I guess one.
On the offensive side of the ball, I got two players.
All right, well, I'm going to guess one and he going to guess one. I'm guessing my first one is Amari Cooper.
Yes.
Okay, that was my guess. It's an offensive player?
It's an offensive player.
Chubb?
No.
No, it's not
Not even Chubb.
You're going to
Well,
Wills.
No.
Watson?
No.
He said
I said not him.
Oh, okay, not him.
You saying
So-
Elijah Moore too?
Yep.
Both the receivers?
If one of them two go down, I think it'll handicap the whole.
Oh,
because why? Because like I said, I've got a chance to watch practice, and Elijah Moore is going to be featured in this offense quite often. So if he goes down, who are we replacing him with? That's the problem.
Okay,
right
this
there.
is. I know, Earl, this wasn't your question. It's going to turn into this. When we talk about this season for the Browns, we talk about the good rosters. In the AFC, if you look at that list of all the rosters that ESPN ranked, the Browns were in 9th. I believe 9 of the top 14 teams were AFC teams. There are so many good AFC rosters. And that is why, and this is not a Hopkins conversation, but I'm going to make it a Hopkins conversation. A player like that could be worth half a win. The upgrade from DeAndre Hopkins to DPJ or whoever else, in my opinion, is at minimum half a win. Half a win in this AFC could be the difference of making the playoffs and missing the playoffs. And when jobs are on the line, from Stefanski, hell, to even Andrew Berry, to if Stefanski's fired, Schwartz is gone, Ventrone's gone. The new coach that's going to bring in his own guys. I don't get how you could feel confident going into the season with the receiver room that, like you said, if either one of your top 2 guys go down, who have both had a history of missing games, without that backup plan when it's sitting right there. Now, if he doesn't want to come to Cleveland, whatever. You can't force a guy to come to Cleveland. But you can make him an offer that he can't refuse. And they have money right now. And it drives me crazy that I see people out there saying, oh, we don't need Hopkins. Well, yeah.
With a
I don't
healthy
need
roster.
$1 million. But it would damn sure help me pay my bills off a lot faster.
Them is the same people that we don't not know no. Them the same people that don't have no savings talk about we don't need no extra money. What are you talking about? Of course you do. It does not cost you anything. Like, it doesn't cost you anything to have backup plans, right? We don't have a backup plan at that position. And we're not even as good as some of the top flight teams. We're middle of the road. But think about what happened if you lose an Amari Cooper. You go from the middle of the road, now you talk about David Bell and Schwartz playing. Are you serious? No.
No, you asking Tillman. You have to have Tillman come in and step up and be that great 3rd round pick, but that you asking a lot of a guy who's in the 3rd round. And if Elijah Moore goes down, we do got Marquise Goodwin, and Marquise Goodwin is a great wide receiver.
But he has injury issues.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He gets hurt as well. So it's one of those things that you kind of do need a D-Hop out there because at worst case scenario, Amari Cooper goes down. Listen, Deshaun's like, I still got my dog over here. I know when in doubt, I can always go to D-Hop. Whether he's double team, triple team, whatever, I can throw the ball to him. He'll make it happen. With DPJ, he's a great receiver. He does great things. I think he still will have one of his best seasons this year. But is he a guy that defensive coordinator is saying, we got to stop this guy? Well, I don't think he is.
And, G, tell me if I'm wrong here. When we say we want Hopkins, it's not necessarily DPJ sucks.
Not at all. I think he's a good wide receiver.
More proven commodity. Had similar stats last year in 9 games. I know it was a bad team and there was no one else taking targets away, but in 9 games he had very similar stats to what DPJ did in his career best season. And as good as we think DPJ could be, I do think there's a ceiling on DPJ. Right? He's a 6th-round pick for a reason.
Hey, Anthony, shout out to Anthony. When Pokemon comes on, right, the theme song does not say I want to catch 1 or 2. It says, I want to catch them all. I want all of the Pokemon. I want the Charizards. I want the all versions of it. Pikachus, all of them. I want every Pokemon. I want all receivers. Look, at the end of the day, when you're looking at these receivers right now, you might not think you need it. But nobody really thinks about their spare tire until you get a flat. Nobody think about how far you are from a gas station until the east side come on and you like, dang, I'm in the middle of nowhere. The Browns cannot be able to afford to be in the middle of nowhere with no blanket in the desert. Right now, y'all got 6 games to prove what you're going to get. And the thought process that I have, and here's just the problem. And I could go down a list of every major player ever to ever come here and ever play. The Cleveland fan base and the media, I'm just going to let you know, they do not like outsiders. I'm just going to be real with you. If you played for Michigan, they're like, I don't know, I'm standoffish. You played for Michigan. I don't know. They used to say for years, why don't they draft Ohio State players? I'm like, well, if the Ohio State players were available, we would take them. And if they thought they were good, they would take them, right? They asked the same questions. When DPJ gets upgraded because he was drafted here. He gets upgraded because we value homegrown people that are from here. That's the first thing people say. Northeast Ohio ties. Grew up right down the street here. Who gives a you know what? I don't care where you're from. Can you play? DeAndre Hopkins can play. I want that guy. If he's from Tallahassee, I want that dude. This is the year. Don't mess yourself up trying to look around, trying to feel good about yourself. I don't care about feeling good for myself. I feel good about winning.
Do you think that maybe the front office is a little scarred because of the Odell thing? Because he was a big name wide receiver that got traded here.
Man, listen.
But they didn't find a way.
They don't have time to be hurt. It's win now.
I agree. I'm just trying to think of what would make them hesitant.
If we could shift the timeline back 1 year, right? And I know you can't do that, but if we could literally slide situation roster today back a year, okay. I don't think Stefanski's job was ever really on the line last year. Their coordinators, there obviously were. But Stefanski's job was never really on the line. If they don't get off to a good start this year, I can't see a world where Stefanski survives. I can't.
No.
And if you are all in, including Barry, I don't care what you say, Barry's on the hot seat too. If your GM's on a hot seat, I understand that you can't mortgage your entire future for right now. But guess what? Those future problems aren't your problems if it doesn't work out. You have to do everything you can to save your own job now so you can have those problems to fix in the future. Well, and that's why I don't get I think it's all in. You can't be 90% all in on something.
I think
you
that,
can't. It's
like
impossible.
I say, when I went to watch that practice and Deshaun was willing and dealing and he had the Tom Brady-esque practice, I'm telling you, everybody out there was like, that was like the common thing. Like everybody was like, maybe we don't need Deshaun.
If you could promise me they'd all stay healthy, their entire receiver would be healthy for 17 games. Yeah, you don't need them.
Well,
but
I'm telling you what they looking at. Like if you see it, because they get to see it every day, and they see the production, they see how Deshaun Watson is throwing this ball, they see the receivers making these plays. It's like maybe we don't need D-Hop, and I think that's what they think right now. No. But like I say, if an injury happens, then they have no choice.
Listen, the people that's thinking I even question the way I think. Nobody in the Cleveland fan base gets an idea. We don't get the benefit of the doubt on punting on nothing. What the hell do we know? All we've seen is horrible-ass teams for 45 years. And you telling me what we don't need. When did you see a team that we didn't need something? I'm confused here. I'm willing to take answers in the chat. What year were the Cleveland Browns so good that you said we don't need nothing else? I'll wait. Refute it.
2020.
And we still needed something because guess what?
We need?
We needed Odell Beckham Jr. When you watch that, I watched 2020 all over again. Rashard Higgins was your best guy. Him and Juice Landry, and they was out there walking with 82 speed on Madden and their receivers. We needed a deep threat. We didn't have it.
They was a 4th and 12 away from beating the Chiefs.
Guess what?
Actually, to be quite honest with you, they are Rashad Higgins holding the ball away from actually being in that game. But nobody wanted to say that.
Tyvis, you've been in locker rooms. If you came back to next year and you heard that, Cats is all. Just tell Sherm that. Sherm ain't hearing that. Did you get it done or not? Did you get it done?
That's the answer. Yeah, no, he did.
Didn't get it done. So there you go.
I got 2 questions. One for the panel, one for Tyvis. For the panel, I'm looking at Spotrac right now and the current available free agents are wide receivers. You all talk about the depth at the wide receiver position. This guy I'm about to mention is not DeAndre Hopkins, but by a long shot. But Rashard Higgins is a free agent. Would you bring him back in? It won't cost you as much nearly as DeAndre Hopkins. You know what he's capable of doing. You know what a ceiling is, and he will be a body.
I would not bring him in until someone got hurt. I don't think he's worth like I said, I think Hopkins is at least worth half a win as an upgrade over what they currently have. I'm not sure Higgins is an upgrade over the guys who are currently playing.
He might not be an upgrade.
Who on that list, Earl?
DeAndre Hopkins, Kenny Golladay, Julio Jones, Byron Pringle, Jarvis Landry, N'Keal Harry, Sammy Watkins, Andre Roberts, Rashard Higgins, Marcus Johnson, Anthony Miller, to name a few.
I like N'Keal Harry. I would take and Galladay. I would take a swing at him too.
No, trust me. I watched enough Galladay. That was you might as well just burn $64 million at that. Nope. You don't want him anywhere near your football team. Trust me on that one. Earl, you got one more.
Second
Shoot.
question. Tyvis, you were talking about the hirings of Bubba Ventrone and Jim Schwartz. And a lot has been made about Kevin Stefanski's staff. And I think what we're missing and what we're forgetting is two crucial promotions and another hire. When the Browns hired Bill Musgrave, another offensive guru, and a guy that was going to come in and help Stump Mitchell, help with the run game coordinating, I thought that was a significant impact hire. But when you promote Ben Bloom to the defensive line coach, and Tyvis, correct me if I'm wrong, but he was the defensive line coach in Dallas for like 8 years before he moved to the linebackers coach before he eventually got here. And then you got Alex Van Pelt still being the offensive coordinator, but moving back to the role as quarterback coach where he had success in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers. I think those two, internal promotions is going to have significant impacts on this team that don't really get talked about.
Yeah, I mean, Ben Bloom, like I said, he's worked with a lot of great defensive linemen. So I think ultimately it's Jim Schwartz controlling what's going to happen on that defensive line. Obviously, we know that's where he specializes and he spends a lot of his attention there. So, Ben Bloom having the title, I mean, I think that's just the title, but everybody knows that Jim Schwartz is going to be there. As Alex Van Pelt moves back to quarterback coach, I mean, yeah, he's going to be with Deshaun, and he's going to help Deshaun see things the way Kevin Stefanski wants things seen. But also, Kevin Stefanski's going to be right there. Kevin Stefanski's going to be right there with Deshaun Watson. So it's really two coaches on one quarterback getting things done. And I think AVP does get a lot of credit from Kevin Stefanski. Although we don't see it on game days, I think AVP does a great job of coming up with things that happen in the game plan as well. Although, we don't see him necessarily calling plays, I think he does help putting the play sheet together. I think it's him, Deshaun, and Kevin Stefanski all working together to put together a game plan on what they're going to do for that game.
Man, your boy was over in Philadelphia, right? You know what I'm saying? He's in the organization. He's on the roster. You got a couple dudes in it. What happened when the head coach get fired?
They all get fired.
There you go. So Alex Van Pelt and all of your nice little game plans or whatever you got going on, that's nice. That sounds good.
What they got to do with anything?
If it comes down to Kevin Stefanski, all the rest of the dudes up underneath him, I like y'all. But y'all not Stump Mitchell. I like you and your beard. I like it. I like how your running backs play. But that Papa Smurf beard will be in the unemployment line if Kevin Stefanski does not get this thing done. And I'm talking. And when I mean done, it has to look new age. People like you got to think about it like this. And bull or poo-poo it. Jay might say, oh, this is terrible. G, you're losing your mind. Jason might say, come on, you need jerk reaction. I'm going to tell you what human nature is. Let me give you this. If they barely miss the playoffs, right?
If they barely miss
the playoffs and Deshaun Watson throw for 5,000 yards, guess what? Everyone's back.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But they'll tell you it's only about winning.
For sure.
No, how he looks counts.
Earl, before we move on to the Guardians, let's pull up the rest of the rosters. Let's go 1 through 10 real quick and put a bow on good roster or good team, and we'll give our takes on whether we think it's a good roster or a good team or both. How about that?
Yeah.
All right. We'll let Earl pull up that graphic, and then we will run down the list and name either good roster, good team, or we feel confident as of today they'll be both. We all started the show confident the Browns have a good roster, the makings of a good team, but we need to see if they can put all the pieces together to then become a team. So starting off at number 1 with the Chiefs, good roster.
All the above, letter D.
Good team.
Yeah.
We're confident.
I don't know what roster-wise. I mean, they got Kelsey and Patty.
Do you need more?
No.
To be a good roster? I'm not saying a great roster.
Yes, you do.
Yes,
you do.
That just shows you. That shows you how good their roster is. That they can come out there with 2 people and smoke you.
Name me somebody on the defensive side of the ball outside of Chris Jones. Outside of Chris Jones.
Hey, listen, it don't matter.
All right. It does, because we're talking about a good
DBs
roster.
Are good. They got McDuffie. They drafted George Karlaftis in the first round. He played well in the postseason last year. I know they lost Frank Clark. Their linebackers, Nick Bolton out of Missouri, 2nd-round pick, was their starting middle linebacker last year.
Juan Thornhill was there on the squad.
Tyvis is so right, y'all get so wrong.
Y'all need to cut it out.
The Kansas City Chiefs infrastructure.
Yeah, y'all
That's
need to
what
cut
makes
this
them
out.
a good
cut
team.
this out.
The roster's
The roster's terrible, but the team is good. Next.
You can't say it's a terrible roster.
It's a terrible roster.
I would take.
They literally have one star on defense.
If Patrick Mahomes was on any roster, I'd take that team right now, today. And that means he's better than everybody.
The Houston Texans.
Yes. Give me the Texans.
So they got a great roster.
Yes,
with Patty Mahomes.
Yes, because he's got Mahomes.
That's not a. You're missing the point. 53 guys make the roster.
No,
Also,
one guy can move.
Their offensive line's really good too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Creed Humphrey was the number 1 rated center in football last year.
I hear you.
Yeah,
So we got 2 people that says it's a good team and good roster. I say it's just a good team. Next.
All right, number 2, I believe it's the Philadelphia Eagles, the Super Bowl losers from last year.
Good roster, good team.
We'll go back up. I think good roster, good team. They got a lot of talent, a lot of good positions.
They got both.
The Bills, I don't love the Bills roster as much as some other people do.
I don't either.
I still think it's a good roster. I'm not confident it's a good team, but I'm not as high in the Bills roster as some other people.
So let me give you this. Like, this is the way I think. If I was the Bills and they had the cap space that the Browns have, they should be getting DeAndre Hopkins. Because I don't think they're potent enough. All y'all want to do is run the ball, throw the ball, that's fine. If y'all want to throw the ball 100 times, you better have the whole old Houston Oilers. You better have Haywood Jeffries, Ernest Givens. You better have everybody. You got 2. You got Stephon Diggs. You got Gabriel. I think they need to upgrade, and I'm not as high on their roster. I'll actually be truthful. I like the Dolphins in that division. AFC East. I do.
Yeah, Dolphins definitely a good roster. I'm not sure if it's a good team. I don't fully trust Tua, especially with his health, to be able to lead them to a postseason.
Tua when healthy, that's a great team, man.
Tua when healthy, that roster's loaded.
Yep.
Bengals, good roster, good team.
Yep.
They coaching staff was questionable a couple years ago, but
I think they've put it together.
They together now.
I think they're not as talented a roster as they were last year. They lost some key guys on defense, but I still think
the secondary scares me about
it's
that.
Overall a talented roster. Let's just see 6 through 10, Earl, then we'll come to your last question. We'll move on here. But the 6th roster, the Cowboys.
It's a good roster because they got some pieces. It's the coaching
team,
staff
that's kind of high to me, man.
I don't think they should be 6 either.
6? Like you got CeeDee Lamb. Now you do got Michael Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence.
You got Brandon Cooks as a supporting cast. You got Tony Pollard.
Their offensive line's still good. They got some dudes in the secondary.
They got
Gilmore.
probably arguably the best secondary.
I like them at 8.
Gilmore.
I like them at 8, 9. I guess you parse and words.
I mean,
it's split. It's split hairs.
So when we're first going to do this, we're talking about the Browns ranked right at 9. My notes, if you want to tell me they're 6 through 12, I'm not going to argue.
Right.
Like, you could make the case that they're a little higher, a little lower if you value a certain position more. I think they're right in the right spot. The Chargers, once again, a talented roster. I don't think any of us are confident
They just not healthy. If they stay healthy, they got a really talented roster.
Yeah, and they got some really good receivers. They have a
They
quarterback.
obviously their coaching staff is questionable, but they got a whole new coaching staff, so it's gonna be outside of the head coach. It's gonna be interesting to see how they put it together.
Earl, one more thing before we move on to the Guardians. Did we have a poll question with answers to this? And I know you had something you said on the radio that I got asked
No,
about.
the poll question. We got the poll question, but I like to do the poll at the end of the hour. So
Gotcha. So we'll do the poll at the end of the hour. But on the radio yesterday, I heard you say that as of yesterday, so the 9th, the Cleveland Browns, you have them penciled into the AFC Championship game?
Yep, and I stand on it. And I said it was my total unbiased opinion. I think the Browns have a really good team. I don't think the Browns are just a talented roster. I think that in the 4 years that Kevin Stefanski has been the head coach of the team, they've went through adversity. They've overcame adversity. They've had trial and error. They've learned from some mistakes, and they've kept growing. And that's anybody in any profession. We have to understand that Andrew Berry, first-time general manager. Kevin Stefanski, first-time head coach. I disagree with G when he says that Kevin Stefanski has 6 games. I don't believe that you get 6 games with Deshaun Watson last year and then only the first 6 games of this season with Deshaun Watson, no matter what the record is. I think Kevin Stefanski get this entire season to prove itself. I think that when he hired the guys that was formerly here, like Joe Woods and Mike Prefer, he did the right thing by delegating. But when he delegated, the guys that he delegated to was not competent enough to do the job. He recognized that at the end of the season, he swiftly made the proper changes. He upgraded his coaching staff. He went to his general manager. They upgraded the roster in certain areas. I believe in my heart that this team is just right up there with every other quote-unquote team in the AFC and can go play the Kansas City Chiefs, for example, in the AFC Championship. Will they win it? That's to be determined.
I disagree. First of all, he hired them folks. He hired Joe Woods. He fired them a year too late. He watched them be incompetent. They punted on the season. Andrew Berry could have got people last year. He waited. He chilled. In life, you do not have time to be waiting and chilling. We lost a whole year. Second of all, I don't know if they made them the decisions to get no better. I saw him miss too many onside kicks. I need to see him recover a couple before I say you learn.
He missed one onside kick.
That's one too many.
I agree.
You blowing leads in 13 seconds.
I agree.
When you
You're not about to see. I'm not gonna let you put gas on it like it's worse than what it is.
Tyvis, you'd have been in them rooms where people get that Dear John letter the next day. You dropped the ball, special teams man.
G, I got a question for you.
Yep.
Why are you still harping on last season when everybody up here understands that in the NFL, good, bad, or indifferent, what you did last year don't matter? Let's say hypothetically, right, we talking about the Cleveland Browns who made the playoffs last year. I can't sit up here and hang my hat on what the Cleveland Browns might have did in a positive light last year as I look forward to this year. And I get what you're saying, but we know in the NFL, you can have a #1 overall pick and be playing in the playoffs. We've seen teams win the Super Bowl and not even make the playoffs. Last year is last year. If you look at the improved infrastructure of this team based on what they did from the offseason started this year, they're in a much better situation and a much better place than they was last year.
I'll give you this. My retort is this. Yes, they got better on paper. However, when you're in the NFL, it's part of your resume. It's part of what, like when you go sit in front of owner, you can't wipe the season clean every offseason. They're going to say, well, what did you do last year? Did we see some improvement on the field? And the only way to do it, now trust me, I like the team just as much as you. I think they got an opportunity to go to the AFC Championship. I do. However, when it comes to Kevin Stefanski, at some point, the rubber meets the road. Either we feel like you're a guy that's going to be able to lead this team somewhere else, or we don't. At the same time, I done seen the Bengals go from worst to first in that same period. I've seen teams win championships, mixing rosters, moving people. The Cleveland Browns have a great roster. It's up to the people that are now in them offices to get that talent to perform. And that's what I'm looking for Stefanski.
Yeah, and we'll move on to the Guardians. Or one thing on that, and this is not pro what you said, anti-G. This is just out there. I think this is why people a lot of times get caught up in talking about last year while also looking forward and not being sure exactly where to fall in the middle. We can either project or we could go off what we saw. And no team is exactly the same from one year to the next. Mm-hmm. It changes, but it's also projecting the unknown, and we don't know the future. And this is, once again, not a shot at Elijah Moore, but Elijah Moore's been turning heads in training camp for 3 years now. You go back as a rookie, I wanted to put a post up. The first report from Jets rookie camp, rookie Elijah Moore turning heads. Barely played. Going in the second year.
Don't do that.
Elijah Moore turning heads. Barely played. This year, Elijah Moore turning heads. That's not to say he can't actually turn heads.
Well, to
project what's going to happen. We just don't know what's going to happen in the future.
It's not fair. That's loaded because at the same time, it's kind of like when Odell was here with Baker. You know, it was like we thought Odell may have been washed up a little bit. He leaves here, goes to with a better quarterback, and boom.
No, some people thought he was washed.
Excuse me, some people.
There you go.
Some people thought he was
some
washed
respect
up.
on that.
And because I was with you, I was like, I don't see that, but whatever.
But that's my point.
But what I'm saying is,
you could project something, and it may not be the reality, or you could go look at what actually happened and try to figure out why it won't happen again. So it's an impossible. It's not. We should be looking ahead to next year, but going off what happened last year is the data points we have to go off.
And I can see because me sometimes I get excited. I'm like, oh, I love this. I want them all to get touchdowns. But I can see how some people say, okay, G. Bush, that's cool. But if the Cleveland Browns had a track record, like when we say good teams, the difference between us and good teams is that Kansas City is going to play at this level.
Yeah.
This bare minimum you're going to get. They're going to do certain things. They're going to play great special teams. They're not going to hurt themselves. They're going to have good quarterback play. They're going to be innovative. Those are the things I'm saying. So that stuff translates. Once you put year after year after year, you start to put those people in a position where you know what that organization is about. With us, we don't have that benefit of the doubt. So our fans are just like, listen, you got to show me first and show me some consistency, and then we'll give y'all the benefit of the doubt and say it was just a down year or we can do something.
The fact of the matter is this. It all depends on number 4. Okay, number
Yeah.
4.
Yes.
To be honest with you,
Yes.
what Joe Burrow did with Cincinnati is he truly saved the franchise. Him coming there and being the player that he is, he saved that coaching staff, he saved that organization, he saved that city because the Cincinnati Reds was terrible the last few years. Obviously, they better now. But he has saved everything about Cincinnati, and it's all because of the player and the person that he was. If Deshaun Watson comes in and becomes that guy he was in Houston again, he saves Kevin Stefanski, he saves the Cleveland Browns organization.
Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, he
saved
saved everything.
He literally saves everything.
Yeah.
So he has to be that guy. And if he's not that guy, we all going to be pretty messed
Last
up.
point on the Browns, we'll wrap it up. Every discussion we have this summer, that we've had, that we will have until the first game of the season, is just a discussion because, to Tyvis's point, none of it matters if Deshaun's not good. If he's great, they're going to be a world beater.
Unbelievable.
If he's not, then we're going to have some questions and some tough discussions to have.
Man.